they would have of you because they see you as being black first and more sympathetic and understanding.
Well, Armstrong, it is, you know, my position to just do what's right, no matter what color I am, to do what's right. And I know what the perception is. She might be saying this because she's an African American female, but I said the same thing about the officers, in Buffalo who knocked the elderly white man down. That's wrong. The culture of law enforcement has shifted in a direction that has embarrassed and shamed a lot of people who have done work in this industry for years. The altruistic manner in which we should work every day is really about being human beings. So let me give you an example. Night before last, there were a group of protesters that we allowed to protest peacefully in the downtown area of Durham. We haven't had very much vandalism at all. But it turns out that later on, as it turned dark, these individuals went to the old police headquarters building, which is in the process of being sold, broke inside the building, and about 50 people went inside and completely vandalized that structure. And and in the process, they brutally beat up a freelance photographer who is probably about 65 years old, an elderly white male. And you have to ask yourself, is that really about racial equity? Is vandalizing and tearing up and tearing down property, is that really about racial equity? Is beating up this white gentleman in the middle of the street about racial equity?
Officer.
But I don't have time.
No, please continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying that, what's right is right. And I think if we get to a point where we are just honest about what is, some of the protesters that are out there right now, some of them, quite frankly, couldn't wait for this moment in history to occur because there are anti-police individuals that have completely, as Gary said, hijacked the narrative. It's not even about George Floyd anymore. It's about people who never wanted to see police agencies exist in the first place.
Officer Izzo, we cannot conclude tonight's town hall without talking and highlighting the progress that is being made in law enforcement.
Well, if you're asking a question, progress has to be made from the head up. I mean, the one thing, Chief, I mean, I respect your position, but when you're going to be coming on a show and then talking about how wrong or bad law enforcement has gone, where you criticize the action of a specialty team pushing down an elderly old man, this is the narrative where command staff has to stop kowtowing to the general public and remember their role. Your role is to support those who are serving the community. And the job of the police officer is to keep the peace and maintain order in a free society. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, the only thing that doesn't have any color is law. And we all know what the law is. And for the most part, until the command staff starts taking press conferences and starts telling the general public out there, hey, we understand your frustration. We understand that you have issues. We understand you want to protest, but are you educated? Are you aware of why the police do what they do? You're asking people to come to a table and not know how to dine. You're asking them to come to a part of a relationship because the police and the public are a relationship, but everyone is putting the onus on the frontline warrior, on the police officer, without any accountability for the command staff or for the people that they're engaging with. So I truly hope that this narrative changes over time and more command staff steps up to the plate. And when you have criticism across the nation of what one police officer did, that we start supporting a little bit more. Because right now you're going to start seeing a mass exodus of these brave men and women who will no longer tolerate what the public is doing and what the police command is not doing for them, and they're going to walk. So you want to see a narrative change, it's got to start from coming from within.
Chief Davis, your response?
Oh, I would love to respond to that. I've had those conversations with my officers. As a matter of fact, my officers had initiated the conversations about how wrong something was. So, when we get to a point where we feel like it's inappropriate for us to talk about what is, and we just turn our heads like, oh, that's okay. I'm glad that I have officers that have candid conversations with me and initiate those conversations, not just about that incident, but about incidents around the country. Not just about incidents around the country, but incidents that even occur in my police department. So, unfortunately, I've never been a part of the Thin Blue Line Club. I didn't meet the criteria to be in that club, and I didn't need to be in the club. I'm for the people, all people. I'm from my officers. I support them. When they're right, and I stand up for them. But we have to get to a point where we have to call a spade a spade.
Officer Izzo, do you think law enforcement is standing down now?
Do I think it's standing down now? No. You look at, like in Chicago, you get the Chicago police who are being abused left and right, and they're still doing their job. Those are some of the most amazing fortitude-filled men and women out there on the planet. The problem is they're going to take pressure like crazy. And Chief, your response is great. You sound like a great politician, but at the same point in time, too, we're going to need some clear lines drawn in the sand of what these men and women on the street are fighting for.
Look, we could continue this for another hour, but we're at the conclusion of our broadcast. I want to thank WGLA 24/7 for always putting it on the line to come to these studios to do these shows live in the era of COVID-19. I respect these officers, what they do in the era of COVID-19 and what they have to face. And law enforcement matters. That's what the topic was tonight. Chief and all of you, thank you so much for joining us and our earlier guests. And hopefully we can continue this conversation, and just much respect and much honor to your badge that you wear. And we know that it's not easy, and we appreciate you protecting our freedoms and our properties every day. And again, we cannot say much respect enough. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall. I'm your moderator, Armstrong Williams.